about economics. When I was in 11th grade, I never will forget, I had a class, okay? And it involved the teacher discussing economics. And I was just so frustrated sitting up there when they got into that. And after about the third or fourth day, I was just beside myself. So, leaving school that day, my grandmother stayed just right across from my high school, okay? Just walked down a little hill and boom, I was at her house. So I hit that door, boy, and I mean, I was all emotional and everything. And she asked me what was wrong, and I told her, I said, Grandma, I said, I'm in this class called economics, and I said, the other kids, they all just seem to catch on, and they're just following right along, and Grandma, I don't know what in the heck is going on. I just feel so stupid. My grandmother looked at me. My grandmother, y'all, had an 8th grade education, but that woman read a book about every week. I kid you not. She's very, very, very smart. Very, very learned woman. And, but she looked at me and she said, oh, I can tell you about economics. She said, I'm an expert at economics. And I looked at my grandmother and she said, you know, I raised 8 kids coming out of the Depression. And she said, so I know a lot about economics. And so I'm like, okay, let her throw it on me. And she did. She told me, she said, well, one thing you should know. You can eat a dollar and you can't make a turd. She said, but you could eat food, nourishment, you know, those type of things they call commodities, and you sustain yourself, and you can do anything you want. And she said, now, countries, Western countries, they created something called currency, and it's a trade mechanism. And she said there's stages that they went through, but now they're at the point where she said that currency has become nothing more than a promissory note. And she said it don't mean nothing. And she said, but they'll take it to any country in Africa, South America, Central America, take that little piece of paper and promise them what, I don't know, she said. But they'll give it to them, and they give them all their resources. She said, that's all you need to know about economics. It's all about trade and how you can develop different ways to steal from somebody and to deceive them and make them think they're getting something when they got nothing that you got to give. They receive nothing, but you get everything. And boy, I tell you, my eyes opened up to the whole world at that moment, because I went to the library, my hometown. I went to the library, and I actually learned that just no more than 50 years prior to my birth, that banks made their own money at that time, and if they had whatever they had in their safe, that's how much money they could distribute out on the street, because people could come and get gold or silver that was backed by their particular currency. And that was in the United States. And the United States got a little slick, thinking of all different kind of ways they could trade. And they went and they centralized the monetary system in the United States. And it was bankers who centralized it, not the government. And those bankers centralized the currency, and it was backed by gold. It was truly backed by gold and silver, because I had a silver certificate for years. Not anymore, you guys. It ain't backed by a damn thing. And now they don't even call it a promissory note. It's just currency, and it means nothing. And the reason I'm telling you guys this is because any act of civil disobedience by the black populace in the United States can cause the fall of global white supremacy, because the Achilles heel of global white supremacy, and I'm going to get into the Achilles heel so that you understand what I mean when I say that. It's not just a cliche, it's a fact. The Achilles heel of global white supremacy is its currency. A lot of people don't know that, because you were not allowed to know what Osama bin Laden's mission was. That's why they was able to blame the falling of the World Trade Center on him, is because he sought to destroy the global banking system, global white supremacy, because he knew once that fall, then that's it. And that's why they got rid of him, because his philosophy, even though he could not obtain that objective, that philosophy would spread on to someone else that could. I'm going to tell you, Osama bin Laden come from Saudi Arabia. Okay, they're very, very, very racist toward black Americans. Okay, they're not for the fall of global white supremacy. If you notice, it's Saudi Arabia who's assisting more in trying to keep the people in Israel powers over the world. Okay, it ain't Muslims and they ain't anti-American. They all in the boat, okay, together. But you guys aren't in that boat, and you guys are a threat to global white supremacy. You just don't know where their Achilles heel is, and I'm telling you. And what they fear is the fall of the US dollar. I live in the Philippines. It's 100% sustainable. That means that the Philippines could live for thousands and thousands of years and never trade with anybody, just feed themselves. I mean, we're on the biggest aquifer I've ever seen. It's a massive. Every island you could just dig 35, 40 feet in the ground and you got fresh water. You go up in the mountains, you dig in the ground, you got fresh water. Okay? That's essential. Everything is green here. They have a rule here, okay, that you can't chop down a tree without permission. Okay? That's the government. Okay? They ain't playing. This is all green space here. Okay? One of the wealthiest, every fruit in the world grows in the Philippines. Every vegetable in the world grows in the Philippines. That tell you something right there? Okay? Everything. You don't starve in the Philippines. People don't starve. The homeless that you'll see here is out of result of mental illness. But even they may be homeless, but they'll climb a tree and eat every day of the year. My grandmother called it fruit of the gods. That means that it's a fruit that literally you could eat every day of the year. It's ripe on the trees every day of the year. Coconuts, bananas, papayas, mangoes. I could go on and on and on and on and on all year long. They have no season. Seriously, no season at all. So if you'll ask and get up a tree, you can eat. Okay? That's sustainable. That's 100% sustainable. There's 54 countries, last count for me, in Africa. Okay? 28 are 100% sustainable, and the rest are anywhere from 80 to 98% sustainable. And they measure that because no country in Africa is less than 80% sustainable, which means that the 80% must do some kind of trade with somebody if there's certain particular commodities they need. You're zero sustainable. Zero. I kid you not. United States, zero sustainable. It used to be 20% until the Chinese bought up all the farmland. You guys, I'm not joking with you. These motherfuckers will starve to death if the third world countries decided, hey man, you ain't got nothing to trade with. We don't want you. We don't want to have nothing to do with you. Because what do the United States do when they deliver sanctions on these countries? They stop people from trading with them. Okay, nobody can trade with them. They do blockades and all that kind of stuff. That really hurts the United States. You start getting mad at too many people and shutting down trade, you're going to cause them to revolt, come together and trade amongst themselves because they feed your ass. Now, what do the black men in America have to do with that? You guys are the secret. Okay? If any country ever knew the power that you have, and they wanted the U.S. to fall, they'd have had their ass over here a long time ago. But everybody don't want Master's house to crumble. Okay? They don't want to see global white supremacy dissipate. And I'll tell you, okay, that mentality, many people call slave mentality. I remember I was a young kid. I had just graduated high school, went out to California to go to college and everything, was staying with my cousin. And part of my daily routine, was going to campus, fooling around, and then leave campus, and then I'd go to Venice Beach. I'd go to Venice Beach, and there was this place. It was sort of like a bar, but it wasn't a bar. I mean, they could serve drinks, but they had some really good food there, okay? And they had these big old burgers that I could put my hand like this to eat that burger, all right? So I'm here, and I'm sitting at this bar, and there's this old white man sitting next to me, and he strikes up a conversation with me. Well, I'm a little apprehensive because now I've been in California for a few days, and I'm telling you, there's fruits and nuts out there, so you don't know who you're talking to. But this man got to talking to me, and he said, asked me about school, what did I want to do, and this and that, and I'm sharing with him a lot of my life. And I had told him that, one of my passions, something I really like doing, was writing and stuff. And he got so interested in me then. He scooted closer to me, and that made me nervous. And he leaned in, and he said, say that one more time. And I did. I said, I'd like to be a writer one day. He said, I'm a writer today. And I was just so taken aback because now he's telling me about him. And I asked him, I said, have you written for any really big movies that I would know something about? And he said, did you ever see the Ten Commandments? And I said, yeah. I said, that's one of the greatest movies ever. I loved Ten Commandments. I loved everything, all the cinematography and all that new kind of stuff that they was adding to movies that was thrown in that movie. And he said, what about the storyline? I said, I liked it too. I said, I found it very believable. And he said, well, good, thank you. He said, because my research took me to southern United States. He said, before I really start writing good on it, I needed to get some idea of what I was doing and the mentality, the slave mentality he wanted to acquire. So he went down south in the United States and he talked to former slaves, people that was former slaves. Okay, in fact, and you got to remember, I was raised in the 60s, so I met some of them, okay, that lived to be octogenarians and stuff. A lot of those people could tell you some story. 100-year-old, I remember Mr. Lockery, she died 109 years old and told us a whole bunch of stuff. So this man, I think Ten Commandments was back in the 30s, 40s. So he's talking to people who had good faculty and good memory and sharing him about slavery. And he hurt my feelings. And he asked me, he said, can I tell you something? He said, he said, when the war broke out, he said, most of the slaves didn't move further than 10 miles from the plantation because they was waiting for when the war ended, they can go back home. And he said it just like that. And he said, leading up to slavery, the Civil War, he said, the slaves, the scuttlebutt, they had a lot of gossip on these plantations, going from plantation to plantation. And the slaves, many of them didn't want the war to break out because they said, what will we do? Where will we go? How will we survive? This is what they were asking themselves. In the movie, he threw that in there. If you notice, those were the chants, those were the things they were saying in anger of Moses getting them freed. They were mad at Moses. Okay? So that slave mentality. And that persists when you get to talking about the fall of America. Everybody don't want to see that happen because they're saying, what will we do? Where will we go? And I remember my grandmother saying something about, if you don't have nothing, you don't get nothing when you can remove currency from the game. That means that places like Philippines here or Senegal, okay, in Africa, okay, or Ghana or Nigeria, those places will be the number one market in the world. They would be it. Brazil? Oh my God. America wouldn't be anything. They don't have nothing to trade. Oh, what? They gonna give you some anorexic white woman? or Thug Master G walking around with his pants all down? See, them some bitches, they can't feed themselves. They don't know what to do when it comes to trying to get purify and clean the water up, because everybody gonna be out in the streets. The way I forecast things, if America was to shut down right now, first thing, there would be an attack on its infrastructure, the people themselves. And with an attack on the infrastructure, you're going to knock out all power, all 50 states. Don't take much to do that because the power grid in America is attached to a domino effect. Okay, it'd be gone. Well, without that, you can't purify your water. Okay, and pollution run sky high, refrigeration out the window. People would, after 2 weeks, you start seeing starvation. I kid you not, starvation after 2 weeks. Some countries, it would, like Philippines, it never happened. No starvation would occur. They lose their infrastructure. But in the U.S., 2 weeks. You go 3 days without water, and you can die. You go 10 days without food, you can die. So the essential is water. And if you don't know how to dig down in the ground or go to a mud puddle and scoop up water, purify it, or go to a waste treatment plant, gather up all the water that you can in buckets from there, even though it's contaminated with poop and chemicals and everything, you can clean it up if you know what the hell you're doing within an hour and be drinking it. But you guys don't know a damn thing. And you need to. And you need to know that you have the power to get together and maybe give it that domino effect. Because right now, what you're seeing when you see the Israelis killing and murdering, they've been doing that to them people for 78 years. This is their climax. They're trying to go for the gusto simply because white supremacy is trying to hold on to itself. Okay? Every country sees the murder, the slaughter of innocent men, women, and children. There are no Hamas fighters. You haven't seen not one dragged out. I think if they killed one, they'd parade his body in the street, and you won't see any because they're non-existent. It wasn't about Hamas. It's about wiping out a total body of people because they plan to do that in the United States. See, y'all dumb some bitches. Y'all think that Trump shit is all about voting. It's not. In a way, it is, because when Trump law, all the communities that voted for him, voted against him, the major black cities, metropolitan areas, that's what they targeted. Nobody ever says that. They always say, well, the voter lie, it was no fraud. The fraud is that Biden got more registered black votes than Obama did in 2 terms put together. Black folks showed out hot and heavy. They showed their ass. They went and voted for that man and got him in. And if you don't believe me, the day after the election, 28 states them motherfuckers held special sessions to go and alter voting laws to try to keep blacks from voting in the next election, general election. They went hot and heavy. Biden and them refused a national voter protection for all Americans. He refused to sign anything like that or bring it to the floor on a vote. They were not going to vote voters' rights because the Democrats, as well as the Republicans, don't want your vote. They want you out of the game. Okay? They got plans for you. Think they don't? When they talk a riot and all this and that on the Capitol, all of them is one mind. That young boy, he's 21 years old, that was just showing off secrets, top secret work that he was doing. He wasn't selling it to nobody. He was showing it to his friends. And they arrested him and everything. And when they started giving his bio, they learned that he was a neo-Nazi all through high school. Now, this is 2 years after high school. He's in the military, and he gets a top secret security clearance, knowing that he was a Nazi. Okay? The leader of Oath Keepers, okay? He had a top secret clearance all the way up until the day he broke into the Capitol building. And they even said that he held a top secret clearance after he had made his pledge to the neo-Nazis. In 2019, watching the Army-Navy football game, the Navy officers, cadets, future officers, was doing this. What is that? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Doing that with their fingers. White power. Heil Hitler. Yeah. They were doing that on camera. Not one of them was disciplined. And every one of them, you don't come out of any of the, like Annapolis or any of them, you don't come out of the military colleges without getting a top secret clearance. Because see, those are elite officers, okay? You guys better know what the fuck is going on. This is why I say we need to get together and talk. Okay? They talking now, Trump making all these proclamations and stuff. Now these white folks, they went out there in Los Angeles. The kids is doing the pro-Palestinian march down there on campus. They sit in, and who could show up and start beating their asses but the Proud Boys and the Jewish students. You know, the Proud Boys are Nazis, and the Jewish students, Israeli students. The Israelis and the neo-Nazis are busting heads together. You won't see not one Nazi denounce what's going on over there in Israel. You guys better wake the fuck up. They went down there in South Africa. Who went down there South Africa to start saving them white farmers from getting their land taken away from them? Because the government going to take that land back. Okay? It's ill-gotten gain. And IDF went down there They have over 50,000 armed IDF in South Africa right now with guns on them people's farms. That's why South Africa was the ones went to the UN about the IDF. They got them in their own goddamn country. But you know, y'all didn't know this, but apartheid was the Dutch, and the Dutch, you know, that Nazi symbol. They're Nazis. Google apartheid. Google the P.W. Botha and his political party, and it's a swastika. That's who them young black kids is being slaughtered by, Nazis. And now the Nazis is asking the Israelis to come down and help them continue to occupy those people's land. Don't you find it kind of funny that anybody denied a Holocaust is automatically just ostracized, but yet it makes you question in 1945, United States and Britain went to Palestine with all their cousins that they rescued from Hitler's occupation and put them people there. Now, look what happened. 3 years later, 1948, Google it. They killed over 3 million Palestinians. Palestinians welcome them in with open arms, okay? This is why I say you don't take in a bear cub and try to raise that motherfucker, okay? You bring that little bear cub in your house pretty soon, he gonna outgrow and he's gonna do what he's meant to do. Because Israel, as you know it, is Palestine. Those people didn't come from that region of the earth. Those people are white folks. If you want to see what Jews look like prior to 1945, all you got to do is Google it. And you see them people blacker than me walking around. Those are the Jews. And they lived happily with those Palestinians. Nobody ever fought. Had no issues over religion or over land or anything like that. In fact, there was no land ownership till them white motherfuckers showed up. And 3 years after the so-called Holocaust, they commit one of their own. And it's continued until today. And if you read the United Nations Charter, an occupied people cannot be considered a terrorist act if they resist occupation. That's why when they say Israel has a right to defend itself, they weren't defending themselves. Read up on that. You guys, I gotta go. Hey, but you know, it's been real. I am Nathan Robinson, and I am back quiet, baby.